VikesNow, I am Dustin Baker. We are kicking it on the August 5th edition. I am not supposed to be on this show today. I was supposed to be en route from Sioux Falls, South Dakota to Vikings training camp, but the rain canceled our plans, and to the best of my knowledge, Tuesday practice is not open to fans, so the kid and I, the 7-year-old, struck out, so you're stuck with me breaking down the same football team that we were going to attend the training camp for. So let's just jump into it. Training camp is hot and heavy. There's only a couple days left of the event. They kind of have that emergency reschedule of the night practice that was supposed to happen today. That is a week from today. And that's like training camp is a few days concluded by then. So kudos to you if you get to go to the night practice reschedule. I will be in Hawaii with my family. And then we also have the preseason game. I believe it's on NFL Network, which will be on Saturday afternoon. So we are so dangerously close back with Vikings football. You can taste it. So what I want to do today, for folks that maybe don't follow this as intently as I do, or obsessed fans do, is go through the big four bird's eye view developments of Vikings training camp over the last 2 weeks. Rookies reported 15 days ago, and then everybody showed up 2 days later. We've had some awesome press conferences and a much-needed change in enthusiasm after Kyrie Jackson passed away 1 month ago and Jordan Addison was arrested. It felt like everything was kind of rotten about Vikings football after a spring and early summer of intense optimism. It feels like we're back to an extent. Folks are all excited again, mainly because the rookie quarterback looks pretty good. But let's do this. The four big developments at Vikings training camp. I will start at the bottom of the list, number 4, and then rank my way up to number 1, which is pretty predictable. So number 4 is that Jalen Naylor, while healthy, is a relative showstopper at Vikings training camp, especially the first week. I swear that guy won training camp. He was on every highlight. I bet you the Vikings social media team got sick and tired of posting Naylor clips because there were just so damn many. But the intriguing part about Naylor, and this makes sense in retrospect when you look at this Vikings offseason murder board behind me, is we wondered and wondered and wondered why they didn't sign anybody more high profile than Trent Sherfield during free agency. Well, when you see Naylor bust out into prominence, at least in the summer, it gives you a glimpse into their soul and into their plan. They looked at their depth chart, and from Brandon Powell, evidently, and Jalen Naylor, and Sherfield, and Jashawn Jones, undrafted guy now. Who else is on there? Tristan Jackson. They said, we don't need a WR3. Stop writing about it. Stop asking about it. And then we got to the draft, and they didn't draft one. And they added Ty James and Jashawn Jones and those undrafted guys. Devin Harper was on there for a while. But the Vikings are kind of vindicated because the WR3 we thought was a pretty substantial roster need. But if Jalen Naylor is good, if he is this productive in the regular season as he has been this summer at training camp, and we'll watch these preseason games, then the fuss from yours truly and other Vikings fans was much ado about nothing at WR3. Now, the big thing for Naylor is we've never questioned whether or not he had the speed or the talent to be the guy. It's just his availability was suspect. The guy was always wrong. I kind of infamously joke that last year, while writing something about the Vikings in October or so, I stopped even researching what was wrong with Naylor because there was always something. I wouldn't even bother, well, what's wrong this time? Because it was just something, whether it was concussion, there was always an injury, and it got mundane to figure out what was wrong with that guy. That's why when we had Sean Kenner on the show a couple weekends ago, he said Naylor was going to get cut. He has since owned that false prophecy. I don't think Naylor's getting cut, and he's probably going to end up being the WR3. Now, I have also said a few times that he and the WR3 spot is so vitally important because Jordan Addison could be facing a suspension, and we learned, courtesy of the Star Tribune on Monday morning, that indeed alcohol was the infraction. They didn't get specific on his BAC, but it was evidently higher than .08. So Addison's court date is October 7th, which is during the Vikings bye week. So he'll either probably get suspended thereafter, or this thing might drag out into 2025 for Addison's comeuppance. In any event, a productive Naylor is crucial, or anybody is crucial if Addison's going to be out, because you'd be staring at a depth chart with Jefferson, maybe Hawkinson, maybe Robert Tonyan at tight end, no Addison, and until mid-July, wondering who was going to even be WR3 because most of us kind of thought it was going to be Brandon Powell. But a large development of Vikings training camp, at least in the summer, is that Jalen Naylor looks really good. Number 3 is not a good one. It is the defensive secondary woes. So heading into early summer minicamp and then training camp, whether or not the cornerback spot, CB, was good for these Vikings was up for debate. There still are plenty of human bodies to play cornerback. It's just that other than Byron Murphy, none of them are truly battle-tested or trustworthy. Now, we had high hopes for Mekhi Blackmon, and boom, 2 weeks ago now, he tore his ACL, the first notable NFL injury of the summer, and he won't be back until next September, like 2025. And then, of course, Kyrie Jackson passed away on July 6th, and everybody had high hopes for his rookie upside, a fourth-rounder. And then Shaq Griffin, he hurt his hamstring. He should be back for too long. But all of the several of the cornerbacks became not available, and in the worst circumstance, Kyrie Jackson's death. So they started signing all of these guys, from Fabian Moreau, who's pretty mid but has played a lot of football, Bobby McCain, who started as a cornerback but is now a safety. Jacoby Francis. There are a lot of defensive backs that have been signed. Duke Shelley, who we all know and love and hope makes 53-man roster. But it's okay that they're signing a bunch of free agents, but it's not promising for the long-term trajectory. And I've said, and I'll continue to repeat until the Vikings fix this stat, they ranked 32nd last year per completion percentage allowed. The only thing at all that was bad about Brian Flores' defense, the single thing that was bad, was completion percentage allowed, allowing opposing quarterbacks to complete passes at the worst clip in the NFL. The pass rush and the blitz, is obviously decent and creative. Even the run defense, there's this erroneous notion from some that the Vikings' run defense was not good last year. Nope, it was pretty good. It certainly improved from 2022. So when you look at one of the main sins that must be rectified in 2023, must be fixed in 2024, it's the cornerback play, not letting receivers catch every single pass. And that's kind of what the Vikings did last year. So when we stare down at the depth chart that's adding folks like Fabian Moreau and Jacoby Francis, you start to think, ugh. Well, hopefully one of these guys busts out. Now, there are options, whether it's Fabian Moreau having kind of a reclamation year, Duke Shelley throwing it back to 2022. I don't know if Andrew Booth is going to show up. He's running with third-teamers. So there are a lot of guys to choose from, but on the whole, cornerback has become a major concern for obvious reasons with Kyrie Jackson, Shaq Griffin, and Mekhi Blackmon. And nobody really expected it to be this panicky when it comes to cornerbacks. Thankfully, the safeties are pretty all set. They 5 players deep in that room, so it's not the entire secondary, but the count on the outside in the slot is a little concerning. Number 3. Training camp began, and bada bing, Christian Darrisaw was signed for the long haul. He's scheduled to be the last Viking standing per contractual standing at the moment. His contract doesn't, end until the end of 2029. So if you want to lasso all things Vikings football, the second biggest development, in my opinion, is the fact that Darrisaw's deal was done 1 year early for most estimation. The Vikings love to go down to the wire with contract extensions. And Darrisaw, we don't even have to worry about that. I fully expected this situation to bleed into 2025 and probably go the distance like Justin Jefferson, where they negotiated the son of a bitch for, a year and a half. But with Darrisaw, they either learned that procrastination doesn't really help, or Darrisaw's people or Darrisaw personally were more open about getting it done sooner than later. So Darrisaw is taken care of for the rest of his life. What was it, 4 years, $112 million? And he will protect J.J. McCarthy's blind side, for the next 6 seasons, if you can believe that. So Darrisaw is in the house for the long haul. He's handsomely paid, and any anxieties that we had about left tackle, and it was a long time, so the end of Brian McKinney's tenure, which was, 2011, he went to the Ravens. So from 2011 until Christian Darrisaw's arrival in 2021, we searched for a premier left tackle, And it was always just a bunch of different guys, from Riley Reif to Matt Khalil, to anybody that you could plug and play, and none of them held down the fort like McKinney previously or now Christian Darrisaw. So in the grand scheme of Vikings football, Darrisaw's deal getting done at the start of training camp and not having to get into next offseason, it's marvelous. And almost, I wouldn't say accidentally, but almost in the process of getting it done early, the Vikings probably saved themselves about $10 million because we know each year the market resets with TV money and the deals. Like by the time we get to the end of JJ McCarthy's rookie contract, somebody from this draft class is probably going to be the first $80 million quarterback, if not before then. So Darrisaw's deal, if it would have gone into next spring and summer, probably would have had a little bit more money involved in it. All right, the largest and unforeseen to an extent development about Vikings training camp is, at least in the summer, at training camp, JJ McCarthy looks like the real deal. No, I am not going to forecast, this means that he's eternally going to be great and the Vikings finally nailed it. No, nobody can say that. But every step of the way, JJ McCarthy, pretty much since he was drafted, but particularly July and early August, he has aced the test. Especially when you peer over at the New England Patriots and Drake May very vividly looks raw, like everybody thought, but even Joe Milton allegedly looks more impressive. And, he was, a 6th rounder than Drake May. So bless his heart, Drake May, this show's guy for a couple months. He's going to take a while to develop, and that's how it goes sometimes. Conversely, the Vikings don't appear to have that problem with J.J. McCarthy. Now, this is why, for the folks that wanted McCarthy, there was a bunch of them that wanted to choose him over Drake May. One of the bonuses was that McCarthy was supposed to be game ready. Like, if there was no such thing as Sam Darnold and we were having a Nick Mullins versus J.J. McCarthy quarterback competition, McCarthy could reasonably win that job and be expected to be ready in week 1. Now, Sam Darnold is going to do his best to keep McCarthy at bay and earn the QB1 job against the Giants in less than 5 weeks. But everything we've seen from McCarthy on the microphone, the leadership, and then, the throws, the performance on the practice field, he can't do anything better than that right now. Like, anytime you pull up anything related to McCarthy, whether you Google it, you go on Twitter, you go to training camp in person, it's all positivity, and you can't ask for anything more. And this is so much so that last week, Kevin O'Connell speaking, who was he talking to in that interview? I can't remember who he was talking to. Maybe it was just general reporters from the Vikings. He basically said that these guys are neck and neck. I think he said, you guys have seen it. It looks pretty even, doesn't it? He said he's going to play the best player, and that's usually a segue to a rookie quarterback if the rookie looks the part, and McCarthy certainly does. So while I still think that Darnold will take the baton QB1 scepter into week 1, it's becoming very apparent that we still have a real quarterback battle on our hands, and these preseason games should shed light on, who is the QB1 on September 8th versus the Giants. So it's a wonderful development. I would have predicted, and I probably did on this show a month ago or 2 months ago, that McCarthy would look like a 21-year-old. You'd be like, yeah, it's going to take a while. But nobody is really even saying that. When you watch McCarthy's performance at training camp, none of it says like, oh God, this guy's 21 years old, just turned 21 in January. Let's just put him on ice until 2025. It doesn't look that way. Nobody credible is saying that. So good for him. JJ McCarthy absolutely looks like the real deal per a summer rookie product. And then, the big grand crescendo climax is whether or not that transfers over to the regular season, because the Vikings never forget this. They are so damn due to have a quarterback that they drafted stick around. The time that we point to that it last worked was Dante Culpepper. And he was drafted 25 years ago and stuck around for 5.5 years. Then, through no fault of his own, Teddy Bridgewater was the next, and he was gone after 2 years because of a brutal knee injury. So overwhelming, arguably since Tommy Kramer, and that was the late 70s, I wasn't alive, The Vikings are so damn overdue to have a quarterback that they scouted, they plucked, succeed for longer than 6 seasons. So that is the grand hope. That is everything that Kwesi Adofo-Mensah will be adjudicated on henceforth is going to be whether or not he hits on McCarthy. And right now, in early August, McCarthy is doing everything to suggest that that was a pretty sweet draft pick. All right, we'll be back tomorrow, I believe, with Tyler Ireland. I'm not sure if we have an additional guest, but 1 or 2 more shows after this one before I head to Hawaii for a week. And, for the preseason, get ready. That is right around the bend, 5 days from now. Skol, baby.